To this now, state capture of SAA remains in the spotlight at the Zondo Commission. Nontsasa Memela is continuing with SAA-related evidence at the inquiry. Memela is a former head of procurement at South African Airways Technical, and the Commission will also be hearing testimony from the director of JM Aviation Pty Ltd, Vuisile. And of course, Michael Apple is at the inquiry with more details on this particular testimony. Michael, good to have you, colleague. Let's start with the inquiry, of course, hearing about GPUs and deals between SAA Technical, JM Aviation and Swissport. Just please simplify it for us.
Yeah, that's always important to simplify what can be very complicated matters going on here at the state capture inquiry. So, in essence, what is being discussed today and interrogated is how assets that were owned by South African Airways Technical are sold on to two different companies and then eventually get leased back at a handsome profit to SAA Technical, costing the taxpayer a grotesque amount of money. So let me break this down for you as simply as I can. In 2016, there are GPUs. GPUs are ground power units. They are vehicles that you'll often see on the runways parked next to aircraft that provide them power while their engines are not running. So it's basically vehicles that drive around with massive generators on them. So in 2016, SAA Technical has 12 of these units. They bought them for 11 million rand. They then sell them on to JM Aviation. We'll get to who this company is in a second. At a veritable pittance, 248,000 rand per unit. They sell them 12 units, so it's just over 3 million rand that JM Aviation pays for what SAA Technical paid 11 million rand for. JM Aviation then sells those GPUs, those powered trucks, on to Swissport at 9 million rand, basically tripling what they paid for them. Another handsome profit is made by JM Aviation. Swissport then leases SAA Technical's own GPU units, these trucks, back to them at between 450 to 550 rand an hour. So it goes full circle. SAA's assets go to two different companies and then get leased back to them at, as I said, quite a handsome profit, costing the taxpayer at a hypothetical 6 hours per day. If we look at that 450 per hour mark, if you take that it's been running since 2016. It's an evergreen contract, which means it's open-ended, which means the South African taxpayer could, in perpetuity, pay a lot of money for what was initially SAA's assets. If we just hypothetically say that these GPU units have been working for 6 hours a day since 2016 and the taxpayer has been paying 450 rand an hour, I did the maths on that and it comes to 47.3 million rand. So a lot of questions being interrogated as to why assets which were already paid for by SAA Technical were sold off only to be leased back by them again.
And with JM Aviation, Michael, being one of the companies you've listed there, are we ever going to hear from them today?
Yes. A lot of answers need to come from the director of JM Aviation, Nontsasa, and he's actually going to be taking the witness stand after Ms. Memela finishes her testimony today. We expect her to finish sometime today to allow Mr. Nontsasa to take the stand. And there would be a lot of questions as to whether or not there was ever any quid pro quo for JM Aviation in this whole process. We've already heard last week how JM Aviation paid, I believe it was 2.5 million rand into a property which was owned by Ms. Memela, the then head of procurement at SAA Technical. Some may see that as a conflict of interest, an incentive being paid, somebody unduly benefiting. Ms. Memela doesn't see it the same way. So Mr. Nontsasa will be taking the stand a little bit later today, and then we'll be able to find out exactly where JM Aviation fits into all of this, whether or not it was created with the express purpose for this particular deal. We'll bring you those details later.
Thank you so much, Michael, for keeping a close eye on this, and we'll, of course, be crossing to you for more updates a little bit later on right here on ENCA. That's